Okay, let's bring on Adam to talk about the May Blu-ray releases. It's always a beloved segment every month. Hey, Adam.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Adam. You're beloved, Adam. Do you like being thought of as beloved?
You are worshipped by the women on this. Who listen to this show, and the men too, but the women really love you.
Have we got numbers on how many women actually listen to this show?
More than you know, Dean. I'll tell you that. I really, a lot of women do listen to our show.
Okay.
Unless they're lying to me.
The first time in 46 years I've been beloved. So what can I tell you? I've been honored.
You sell yourself way too short. You're a tremendous slouch.
We got to laugh. We got to have a sense of humor.
That's exactly.
But
hey,
yeah,
Adam, I started getting Twilight Time titles a couple weeks ago. I love their releases. Their releases are actually they're always limited to something like 3,000. So actually, they gradually go up in value once they sell out, which they often do.
Yes, they do.
And they release titles that are really interesting. Like I know we'll be talking about it this month. Eureka, which is a movie that for whatever reason that movie fell off it wasn't on my radar. A Nicholas Roeg, Gene Hackman movie.
Yes.
I have a funny story about that.
Okay.
Well, my brother worked with Gene Hackman for a commercial for the advertising firm he worked with, and they went to go meet him and everything, and to record him and everything, and we're all big movie buffs, obviously. And my brother worked in Hollywood, and he was in there like it's like, what movie should we talk about? I go, well, maybe we shouldn't mention Eureka. The first thing his wife does mentions Eureka. As soon as they get there, he had this problem on Eureka. And all, it was like, holy shit.
Oh, did he have a problem on Eureka?
Yes, he did.
He didn't like it or something, or?
No, I don't. Eureka's not. It's a more of a cult film. I mean, it's not something that you bring up. I mean, obviously, it
wasn't a well-received movie.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like
when it came out.
We had Donald Sutherland call our house one day for when they were doing remember those Volvo ads from the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we had Donald Sutherland, and my brother's like, could you leave the house? He told me, could you just leave the house? Because I don't need you getting on the phone saying, I really love you in Animal House. No one wants to hear that. Could you leave the house? Go somewhere. Go get drunk. No, seriously, it's like, go get drunk. Do something. Just don't be home for the next couple hours. Okay, just leave.
Let me say this real quick since you brought up Donald Sutherland. Out of the many interview requests I've sent out for this anniversary series, Donald Sutherland was one of them, and I received a response almost right away that says, well, first of all, Donald Sutherland is overseas shooting a movie and he doesn't have time, but even if he did, he has a rule that he never ever does telephone interviews. They don't work for him. So I'm like, okay, wow. So I was like, okay, I can't interview him through ESP, so I guess that he's off limits for us.
Wow.
What do you know?
Okay,
what
Adam,
do you know?
we're ready for you. Let's review these titles.
Yeah. Well, so you were talking about Twilight Time, though. Interesting to note, I just got an email today saying that they only have 500 copies left of Crimes and Misdemeanors. So if any of our listeners want to grab a copy of Crimes and Misdemeanors, you better grab it because it's going quick, for whatever it's worth. And that was one of their titles, and a very good one.
Wow, I'll have to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, for whatever it's worth, and they've sold out recently of used cars is gone completely. They put that one out. It's done. It's out of there. So you never know. Those things go, like you were saying, they go quickly sometimes. So anyway.
Then you'll go on Amazon, and you'll see them double in price. If you want to purchase a copy that's out there. That's why, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia sold out. And so they're and I looked on Amazon, and you had to pay $60, $70 for a copy. So they've reissued it. They've reissued it. I think it came out, last month or next month? Something like that.
It's coming out next month, and the story that I'm getting is that's the last reissue they're ever going to do. They're stopping that. That's a policy that they're going to end with Alfredo Garcia. So I don't think from here on out they're going to be reissuing any titles because they've just got so much stuff that they're not able to release because they've been reissuing some stuff, and they need to get the titles that they have in the pipeline out there is what I'm hearing. So I don't know.
Of course, the one I'm most looking forward to, which is August, is Hardcore.
Oh yes.
A Blu-ray of Hardcore. Oh my God.
Yeah, that and also Zelig, I think the same month. And
oh wow.
Yeah, they're doing Zelig, and they're also doing. There's one other one, Theater of Blood with Vincent Price. Yeah, they're doing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff coming out this summer from them. So, yep, for sure. But yeah, the one that frustrated me the most was when they put out Body Double. I was going to actually pre-order that one, and before I could even pre-order it, it was sold out before it even came out. So it was completely gone. So it was one of those things. So anyway. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, okay, well, we'll go back to May 3rd and start there chronologically. A Kiss Before Dying, the 1956 version. We're not talking about the Matt Dillon version. We're talking about the original with Robert Wagner and Joan Woodward. So, yeah.
That's Gerd Oswald, I think, is the director who was an underrated director in the 50s and was actually was responsible for a lot of the episodes of The Outer Limits, the TV show. But that's a pretty good like kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a noir film, but it's a good movie. It's and probably the best thing that Robert Wagner has ever done.
Yeah, next to Natalie Wood.
What about the Pink Panther?
Yeah.
That was good.
Hey, I wanted to say, I remember watching that remake in the theater, the Matt Dillon one, Sean Young.
Yeah.
And I remember, you remember the scene where he kills her at the very beginning? It's a shocking scene, and the audience, it was one of the only times I've ever been in the audience where I heard a literal gasp, because he pushes her off a balcony into some kind of mall area or something, and her body just completely splatters on the floor and soaks everyone around her. This is in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And that's the only thing I really think of when I think of a remake of Kiss Before Dying.
It's been so long since I've seen that. I honestly, it totally evaporated. I don't remember anything about that, the remake. I saw it, but just so many years ago. Yeah.
And then he cuts her up and puts her in a suitcase or something, and you know, it was wish fulfillment for a lot of people that don't like Sean Young. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, we'll move on to another title. Speaking of the late '80s, early '90s, how about Assassination with Charles Bronson?
How about it?
Oh my God. Is that a canon?
Yeah,
is that one of his? Okay.
That's
he and
from
his
the
wife,
canon.
Right? He and his wife, Jill Ireland.
Yep,
right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it was when Cannon was in full swing. So yeah, we have that one. We have Warner Brothers has decided to. I guess they're trying to get all of their Clint Eastwood titles out there. So this month they're issuing, or they have issued. It came out May 3rd. City Heat and True Crime.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Two of the lesser ones. City Heat, you really want to love City Heat because, of course, it's got him and Burt Reynolds together. But, boy, is that a misfire in a major way. Mm-hmm. Like, they have no chemistry together whatsoever. It's completely devoid of any kind of real laughs.
Right.
It's really sad.
Agree.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I agree, Dean. Thank you. I've been waiting for someone to say that after all these years because because it is. You're hoping that it's going to be, and it's dead on arrival. I mean,
well, I'm pretty sure that Burt Reynolds does not have fond memories of that movie. Because that's the movie where he got in that accident and somebody broke his jaw with a chair, which was supposed to be a breakaway chair. And, I mean, that opened up a whole painful chapter of his life that kind of changed things for him.
It did. Yeah, that's what.
Oh, really? I mean, like, is that what led to him, like, having to take, painkillers and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
True crime is a little bit better, I would say. Not tremendously better, but it's watchable.
Yeah. Well, we have Easy Rider. Criterion has issued Easy Rider as a standalone title. Now, this isn't the first time that they've issued it on Blu-ray. It's part of the BBC box BBS box. I'm sorry, BBS box they put out several years ago. That also had the Jet Nicholson films, the 5 Easy Pieces and King of Marvin Gardens, and it also had the Last Picture Show. Which I hear that's going out of print. So if anybody wants one, now might be the time to grab that one too. But Easy Rider was part of that package. Also had Head, the Monkeys film.
Yeah, and it had Drive, he said.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Sure did. Yeah, I picked it up recently because I heard it was going, and it's a nice package, by the way. It's got a really nice book in there. And
thank you.
Yep. Touché.
Oh man.
Oh, but so we have so that's that the Easy Rider standalone release is out there for anybody who's interested.
Do you think that they'll be releasing all of those BBS titles as standalone releases eventually?
I don't know. I don't know why they're doing. Criterion's doing some interesting things. Last month they issued Brief Encounter as a standalone title, and that had been previously issued in a Noel Coward, David Lean box set. So I don't know why they're choosing to issue certain titles, but not all of them separately. Just picking and choosing. I guess maybe because Easy Rider is such an iconic film, and it kind of gets buried in that box. People don't realize that it's out on Blu-ray, and I guess maybe they just want to give it a more high-profile release or something. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything about them actually.
Well, this might be an interesting time to bring this up. I mean, years ago we had a Criterion producer on the show, and we were interviewing her. Jerry, I'm sure you remember that.
If you knew how much I thought about the show the last couple of weeks, you'd be amazed.
Well, it was an interesting show. It was an interesting show because it was a show about the 10th anniversary of the DVD format, and so we brought on a Criterion producer.
God, that's right.
Yeah, and that's something. We're so old. But when we were talking about movies that we requested for Criterion, I had two major ones: Last Tango in Paris and McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And lo and behold, McCabe and Mrs. Miller is going to be, is it an August release for Criterion that they just announced?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I'm just saying, they have to be really delicate with this transfer. The goal of the transfer shouldn't be to make it absolutely pristine, because that movie has a very specific hazy look by design, and don't screw that up. I'm thrilled that they're doing it, but it's a very delicate look they have to maintain for that transfer.
I think that Vilmos Zsigmond was involved in that before he passed away. I believe he did have some level of involvement in the. Because I think there was a tweet or something that indicated that he had that he was involved with that. So I don't know for sure, but I think that he was. I know he participated in some of the extras for sure. So I'm excited about that one. That made my day when they announced that. So.
Oh yeah,
me too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Independence Day, the 20th anniversary Attacker Edition gift set.
Man, that's
I'm not
that's
making this up, folks.
Wait. So what? I mean, it comes on Sci-Fi or Turner or whatever the channel is for the 4th of July from midnight through the whole day. Who needs to buy this? I mean,
good question.
Well, what is the Attacker? I mean, is it a special thing that it comes in one of the spaceships or something like that? I mean,
well, it comes with this box packaging. It's a big box. It has limited edition alien ship replica. There's a collectible booklet, a new 30-minute documentary called Independence Day: A Legacy Surging Forward, and a newly restored, extended, and original theatrical cuts of the film, of course. So that's what you get. You get a toy, basically.
Yeah.
Really?
It's a toy.
It's like a Happy Meal.
Yeah, right.
My
Exactly.
God. Is the new movie supposed to be any good, or is it just going to suck balls? I mean,
Probably
You know
the
it's
latter.
going to be terrible.
Yeah.
The original is terrible.
I get a soft spot when Randy Quaid sacrifices himself for the greater good of humanity, but okay. I said
That
a
is
soft
its
spot,
most memorable
not an
moment.
erection. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Well, anyway, for whomever may be interested in a 20th anniversary Attacker Edition gift set of Independence Day, there you go. So, this is an interesting packaging, repackaging of some previous titles, but I think it's worth mentioning. It's called Ted versus Flash Gordon: The Ultimate Collection, and it contains. It does. The cover of it's awesome. It's great. Everybody should look it up at least and take a gander at the cover. But it contains the Blu-ray of Flash Gordon and Ted 2, also all in one package. So
Only
I wonder
one of
how
those
they.
movies is good.
I wonder how they negotiated that.
Well, I think Universal owns the rights to all three of them, so
Okay.
I think it was probably pretty easy.
Okay.
For them, yeah. So if we have any fans out there of the Martin Cove, they're going to be clamoring for this release, Steel Justice.
Oh my God, Martin Cove! I haven't thought about that name for like 20 years.
I haven't thought of that name at all, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, Steel Justice, wow.
It's described as
Steel Dawn.
Yeah. Well, it's described. It says it's an overbaked 80s casserole of genre cliches, and it proves to be a delicious feast for action junkies. Big selling point. It's self-described as that way. Oh, wow.
Right. That's pretty great.
So there you go. So for you Martin Cove completists, Steel Justice is now available. Also, there is a 30th anniversary edition of Top Gun in a limited edition steelbook. So, well, the best release of that day, May 3rd, for me, in my opinion, would be Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Warner Archives.
No question about it.
Yeah, Warner Archive went all out. I mean, there's some great extras here.
Really?
Yes. It's not a bare bones. Warner Archive typically does just, bare bones stuff. But here they have a commentary by Mike Nichols and Steven Soderbergh.
Right.
They have a commentary by Haskell Wexler. They have the Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Too Shocking for Its Time featurette. The Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, A Daring Work of Raw Excellence featurette. A 1966 Barbara Walters interview, 6 Sandy Dennis screen tests, Intimate Portrait of Elizabeth Taylor documentary, the Comedians trailer, the Sandpipers trailer, and the VIPs trailer, and the Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf trailer. So
I love
pretty
the
nice.
VIPs. I just thought I'd throw that out there, but okay.
The VIPs? I tried to watch the VIPs. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it, really. It was too stodgy.
No. I mean, and Dean, I agree with you 100%. But just next time, when you have absolutely nothing to do, give it another shot. It's just a nice throwback. I mean, it's just so different from anything that we would see today.
Yeah,
it's a nice thing, and that's what I mean. It's not. I don't think it's a great movie by any
It's got some elegant. Movies today lack elegance, and that's something that the movie does have.
Yeah, I mean, it has that completely, and I always just get a kick out of seeing Richard Burton and Liz Taylor because they got married and divorced and got married again, so they're two of the biggest masochists on the planet. So I just always get a kick out of watching them on screen for that reason.
You do get the impression they enjoyed picking at each other and arguing and clashing quite a bit.
Yeah, because we don't have have that today. Everything is so manufactured for like social media and for paparazzi and everything. There's something, for lack of a better word, there's something authentic about them. There's something really authentic. And maybe I'm being naive. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was even manufactured back then. But it doesn't feel that way when I'm watching them on screen together. It's just, it's a weird sense of nostalgia, I guess. But
well, nothing could be better than their pairing in Virginia Woolf. I mean,
God.
Just,
oh my God, that's just classic. Oh,
if you,
yeah.
You know, if you were going to watch one film with them in it, that would be the one. Although I do have great enjoyment in my heart for the Taming of the Shrew. I also like that as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No.
Well, we'll move along to May 10th, and there's some pretty interesting titles here. How about In a Lonely Place, the Bogart film from 1950, directed by.
I like that.
Yeah,
brilliant.
The Criterion did a good job with that one. A lot of nice extras on that one. Great transfer. And Father of the Bride, Warner Archive issued that with the original, with Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor. Speaking of Elizabeth Taylor, there's another one. And
that's one of the movies she's at her most beautiful. I mean, I think that and A Place in the Sun, I think, are the movies where she's just so beautiful that it's just painful to look at her in some ways. You know, it's just
absolutely.
I have watched a lot of Elizabeth Taylor movies this year, as fate would have it. I don't know, I'm trying to watch as many classic movies as possible, and TCM this year has been showing a lot of Elizabeth Taylor. So whether it's Reflections of a Golden Eye, or there's another movie that she did, I can't remember the name of it. And then with Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, you just look at her and you're like, my God, it's just a beautiful looking person. When you watch Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, you're like, are there two more attractive people on the planet than Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman at that period of time? Movie stars were gorgeous back then.
Yeah,
they were gorgeous.
Oh yeah, oh God, yeah.
That's something I think we're missing in movies today. I really don't think that there's anybody. I can't think of too many people that I would just pay to go see just to watch them do anything. You know, you know, they could be like digging a ditch or something. You know,
that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
I mean, Dean, that's really, you just hit on something that is one of these like unsaid problems of movies, and then I gotta say television too, for that matter. There's no one we just want to watch.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that started in the 70s. I mean, that was a period of time where a movie star could look like Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
And yet during that period of time, you still had Robert Redford and Warren Beatty, who were both of that ilk. You know, that old classic movie star look to them. You know.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of the Twilight Time titles, they all came out May 10th, the May titles, and we had, this month we had Appassionata from 1974, and we had Cat Ballou, which...
Wait, now, Appassionata, that's a Pasolini movie?
No, it's not a Pasolini movie. It is not.
Okay.
It's kind of a coming-of-age film about these two girls who are best friends, and one of the girls' father is like a dentist, and he's kind of having a midlife crisis, but it's got some nudity in it, and it's not a terrible film, but it's just kind of nothing super to get super excited about. You kind of think it's going to be a softcore thing, and then you get in there and it's not really that, and it's more of a coming-of-age tale than anything else, with some light touches of nudity from time to time.
Emphasis on the coming.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. But anyway, Cat Ballou is another release, and I'll be curious to know what you guys think of Cat Ballou, because I'm kind of lukewarm on it after watching it again this time. I think it's okay.
I haven't seen it since 2000, so I don't know.
It's been a long time for me too, but the last time I watched it, I was like, it's kind of silly. It's just
it is.
I mean, I know it's supposed to be, I know it's a comedy and everything like that, but it's kind of a comedy that doesn't entirely work for me. And I really don't understand why they decided to give, Lee Marvin the Best Actor Oscar for it.
Yeah.
I've never understood that either, Dean. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad film, but it's just, with all the reputation that precedes it, and you sit down and it's like, okay, this is, where are all these, gargantuan belly laughs that I'm expecting? They seem to never materialize.
And you really get tired of hearing that song.
Yeah.
You really get tired. I mean, as much as I love, Stubby K and Nat King Cole and the other guy, whoever it was, I forgot, but it's that song is like, okay, cut it off, please, enough.
Well, but then we do get to see John Marley playing Jane Fonda's father.
Yes, that's interesting. I mean, it's not without some interesting notes, but
definitely.
Yeah.
So but anyway, and then there's the aforementioned Eureka, which Jamie was just referring to. And that was another issue, one of their titles, and Garden of Evil, which is a Western, 50s Western from 1954, actually.
Who's in that one?
And that one is, I had the disc here in my hand just 2 seconds ago, I could tell you. But that's one of the titles I actually have not gotten around to looking at. That actually has Hugh Marlowe, Cameron Mitchell, Susan Hayward, Gary Cooper, Richard Widmark, and directed by Henry Hathaway. So,
that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, shot in CinemaScope, 2.55, so that should be nice to look at, one of those Technicolor Westerns. But I hear it's pretty good.
Okay.
So some of my colleagues who have also gotten their Twilight Time titles for the month say it's actually better than Cat Ballou. So
I bet it is.
So anyway, and then there's I Could Go On Singing, which was the final film for Judy Garland. And there's there's also
so apparently
that.
She could not go on singing.
Yeah, exactly. But you're talking about Eureka, though. It's interesting to note that the Eureka was actually issued on Blu-ray on Masters of Cinema, which is basically the British answer to the Criterion Collection, and they put a lot of stuff out that they've issued. Paper Moon and a deluxe edition and some titles like that. They do some really good work, and they have ported all of the extras from the Masters of Cinema disc over to the Eureka, the Twilight Time release here. So, in case anybody wanted the Masters of Cinema version, if you get the Twilight Time, you get all the stuff you would get on the Masters of Cinema version. Just for if anybody's curious. So. There's that, and also Kino. They had some interesting titles that were released that day. Solar Babies.
Oh God!
Oh my God! Solar Babies.
I didn't say great titles. I said interesting.
For all the people that are mad that they never made a, that's the one that they're on roller skates, right?
Yeah. Oh God!
Yeah,
oh, God. We're not rebooting that. There's not a reboot of that in the works. God.
Yeah.
For all those people who were mad that they never, yeah.
Do you remember that period of time when roller skates were all the rage? It's what kids used to do on weekends. They used to go to the roller rink, and those movies reflected that, like stuff like Rollerball and Solar Babies, and maybe not so much Rollerball, but definitely something like Solar Babies.
Well, there was the stage show that Andrew Lloyd Webber made called Starlight Express, which was all on roller skates, which was never made into a movie. It was a musical about trains, and everybody on the every cast member played a different train car or something. So I don't know. I know it sounds stupid, but
what a dream for an actor.
But I was watching the other day. I was watching in fact, yesterday I was watching a 1975 movie called That's the Way of the World with Harvey Keitel playing a New York record producer who's working closely with an R&B group that's played by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
He gets taken off of that assignment and put onto another assignment where he's having to gussy up this really cheesy, like sort of quasi-Partridge-like group called the Pages. But he really wants to be with the Earth, Wind, and Fire group. So anyway, there's a big long sequence towards, I guess, in the last 2/3 of it, maybe right in the middle of it, where Earth, Wind, and Fire are playing at a roller rink, and it's a really long sequence that's like really shows you how dedicated people were to roller skating back then. It's just something that has absolutely completely disappeared from the landscape, it seems like. Yeah. I mean, there was a movie a couple of years ago called Roll Bounce.
I remember. I watched that. I remember that movie. Yeah, like 2005 or 2006 or something, or. Right.
That was kind of it was actually filmed here in Atlanta, and it's totally about the 70s roller skating craze.
Didn't Drew Barrymore direct that?
No, that's what you're
thinking of. You're thinking of the other thing,
the roller
Page,
the roller derby thing. Whip It.
Okay.
Whip It, which is very good. I mean, that's actually a really good, well-done movie. Roll Bounce is okay, I guess. I don't really remember that. But Whip It is actually a really great directorial debut by Barrymore. But
there should be somebody should do a list of all the great roller skating movies.
That's your next assignment, Dean.
Oh, Dean, that's it, Dean. That's it. That's it.
I'm going to do it.
There you go. Now you have a agenda. So,
yes.
Well, anyway, Kino has put there are a couple of interesting titles Kino decided to issue in May. This is a pretty good one, I think. I'll be interested to see what you guys think. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, Jodie Foster.
Her best.
I still love it.
Yeah,
I think that's her best role, personally. I mean, I'm not being facetious when I say that. I really do think that's her best performance.
Yeah,
I mean, I really like her a lot in it. I think she's terrific in it. She's like, like most of her roles, she's almost adult-like in her, preternaturally adult. And the one thing about the movie that I think is, worth telling people. If you're an animal lover, there's a scene of animal cruelty in the movie that's pretty hard to take, even by today's standards. And it happens against her pet hamster. The character's
I
pet
do remember
hamster.
this. Oh God, I remember.
And it is really horrifying the way that it's done. But it's Martin Sheen who's at fault. For the or his character. Who's at fault for this, and it's really horrible. And so if you don't like if you can't take any animal cruelty, it's probably not a movie for you.
Are you sure that Richard Gere's not in that movie?
Yes.
Well,
but it's a good movie. It's a very, very good movie, and really unusual. And
it's interesting to think about. That same year that she starred in that film, she also did Taxi Driver and Bugsy Malone. So she was.
Yeah, that's a hell of a year.
Yeah, it is. It is. So.
That's a hell of a year for an actress.
So the Manhattan Project was another Kino release from that day, May 10th, and with John Lithgow. Not a terrible film, I don't think.
Does it have that kid? Does it have the kid from E.T. in it? Is it one of the kids from E.T. is in that?
No, he's not in that one.
Robert McNaughton? I was thinking it was Robert McNaughton.
Oh, maybe Robert McNaughton is in that one. I was thinking Henry Thomas is not in that one, but no, McNaughton may be in that one. It's interesting that Marshall Brickman, the Woody Allen's frequent co-writer in the early days with Annie Hall in Manhattan, wrote and directed the Manhattan Project.
That is odd.
Mm-hmm.
Very odd.
So, yeah, that's always something. That's always been.
It's not bad. I rewatched it again a couple of years ago. It's not. It's a fine movie.
Decent.
I mean, it really benefits from having John Lithgow in it.
Yes. Yeah. So, Criterion has issued a box called the Rock Box, which is a collection, basically a box set of 4 of their rock films, and it's Hard Day's Night, Gimme Shelter, Monterey Pop, and The Who's Quadrophenia. All of them are on Blu-ray, and so if you're looking for a more economical way to get all those, I think it's a little cheaper to get them in a box. So for whatever it's worth. And
that's a good box set.
Yeah, good collection of rock films, and another one of my favorite horror suspense films from the 70s. This is a real slow burn that I really enjoyed, and it still works. I think You'll Like My Mother with the late Patty Duke. Scream Factory issued that May 10th, and that's still with Richard Thomas playing against type. He's the killer in the film, so it's kind of interesting to see him, playing that role. So I would recommend that if anybody likes those really creepy and suspenseful early 70s
Did anybody
films.
notable direct that? Who directed that? Anybody?
That's Lamont Johnson directed that.
He's a guy that used to do a lot of TV movies and stuff.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, he was kind of like a workman-like director. He didn't really have a discernible style, but he got the job done. Usually when he was,
Did he do One-on-One? He did One-on-One with.
Actually, he did. That's it. Yeah, that's another theatrical he did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
You're correct. But moving on to May 17th, I will mention this. This is a newer release, but it's worth mentioning because of when we get these DVDs and Blu-rays review copies, a lot of times they'll send us something to help us promote the release. And one of my colleagues received his copy of Dirty Grandpa last week, and they sent him a condom as a promotional item for the Dirty Grandpa Blu-ray.
No. I mean, this is what it is. It's a package. You open up the package. It's like a sealed evidence envelope, like a police, like a CSI kind of evidence. You open it up. It's got like a really small bikini top. It's got a bottle of pills that say like dick hardening pills or something. They're actually very strong breath mints, and they've got a condom.
Yeah.
Package.
That's right. That's it. Yeah, he wrote to
Wow.
me. He says, Adam, you won't believe what they sent me. He said they sent me a condom with my Dirty Grandpa Blu-ray. He said, thankfully it wasn't used.
Yeah. Well, it still ain't going to be used for quite some time. But I did watch that movie last night, Dirty Grandpa.
Oh no.
Any thoughts?
How was it?
There were a couple of places where I laughed a lot.
Well, anyway, I saw What You Did, the Joan Crawford film from 1965, directed by William Castle. Scream
Underrated.
Factory. Yeah.
Underrated movie. Actually, a very, very funny, creepy a little bit. But I mean, it's shot in black and white, and it's in widescreen, and shot by Joseph Biroc, who's a Oscar-winning photographer. But it's really about 2 girls that are making prank phone calls one night during a sleepover, and they accidentally prank phone call Joan Crawford, who happens to have just killed her lover, who was getting ready to break up with her. So she thinks that these 2 girls have witnessed the murder that she's committed. She decides to go after them. So it's
what is this called?
It's actually pretty good. It's called I Saw What You Did.
Yeah.
William Castle really invested a lot in Joan Crawford.
He did.
Towards the latter end of her career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, does anybody remember the made-for-TV remake from 1988 of that, which is kind of interesting for the casting because the 2 girls were played by Shawnee Smith, who was also in the Saw films, and Tammy Lauren, and the guy they dialed, the guy who had just murdered it's a guy this time, he just murdered his wife, and he's played by Robert Carradine of the Revenge of the Nerds, franchise.
Oh, okay.
So
that is weird.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's not bad. It's not a bad remake, actually. I saw it way back in the day. But what about the 1968 film Candy, which Marlon Brando and James Coburn and Ringo Starr and
I have to
Walter
admit,
Matthau?
I've never seen it.
I think I've read the book. It's Terry Southern, right?
Right.
Yeah, I would
I've
imagine
read
you've
the book.
read the
I
book.
don't think I've ever seen the movie, though. I'd love to see it. I'm curious as hell.
Yeah, I mean, with that cast, and plus is Orson Welles in this one? It seems like something Orson Welles would have been in, but he's not in it, is he?
I don't think he is. No.
But it does have John Huston.
Oh yeah, John Huston's in it. Yeah, and Charles Aznavour. Charles Aznavour. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
What a bizarre cast.
What a very odd cast. But and whatever happened to the woman that played Candy?
That is a good question. You Olin, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Brando ate her, didn't he?
Yeah, Brando or Wells must have eaten her. I mean. Just
bones left afterwards.
Well, Buck Henry wrote the screenplay for that. As well, so that's so the Blu-ray which they sent me, Kino sent me a copy of it. It has an interview with Buck Henry actually, and there's an actual interview with film critic Kim Morgan about the film as an extra on there. So anybody ever, and there's a new 2K restoration of the film. So Candy has never looked better, I guess.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, the actress that played Candy is 66 years old now. I showed that her last movie was in '96.
Mm.
And her movie in '96 was the first movie she'd done in 23 years.
Wow.
Okay. So she basically just sort of dropped out of the movie business.
Yeah. It wasn't a sequel to Candy, was it, by any chance?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Dark Passage, starring Bogart and Bacall from 1947. Warner Archive has seen fit to issue that one.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they're really putting out the Bogart films here lately. I mean, they've just been churning them out. They did Key Largo and Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and they've done quite a few here in the last couple of months. So they're getting them, putting them out there.
Bogart is probably somebody that never stops selling. Bogart movies, they probably never really go out of style.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can see that. I mean, especially today.
Yeah. So, 1976 film called Killer Force, starring Telly Savalas, Peter Fonda, Hugh O'Brien, Christopher Lee, O.J. Simpson, and Maude Adams.
Wow!
Oh, dude, that's just worth.
Now I want to see that tonight.
I want to own that.
I want to watch that.
That's better than everything else coming out this summer. I mean, let's be very honest. I mean,
whoa! I have to admit that's one I've never seen, and I definitely would watch that.
When does it come out? What day is it out now? Or
it's out now, May 17th. Scorpion Releasing put it out. The plot is that it's a desert mine belonging to an international diamond syndicate. The setting for violence, intrigue, and double dealings. Tough, desperate men vying for immense riches. So, Killer Force with a dream cast. So, yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Also, another Kino release is Who is Harry Kellerman and Why is he saying those terrible things about me? With Dustin Hoffman.
Oh yeah, wow.
Directed by
Actually, very, very underrated. I remember when I watched it, I thought, who probably watched this movie and liked it was the Coen brothers, because it has a very Coen brothers kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And plus, one of the most interesting things about it is that he plays a musician, a fairly famous musician in the film, and the music that he does is all by Shel Silverstein, who's, I guess, kind of famous for not only his songs but for a lot of his children's books and things like that.
Yep.
So, But a very interesting movie, and also Barbara Harris is in
Oscar
it. She was
nominated.
nominated for a supporting actress Oscar.
Yes.
For her role, and she's very good in it. It's actually quite underrated. It's directed by Ulu Grossbard, who also eventually did another Dustin Hoffman movie called Straight Time.
Straight Time, yeah. And also True Confessions.
True Confessions,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's written by the playwright Herb Gardner too. So.
Right. Is he the guy that did
1,000 Clowns?
1,000 Clowns, right? Yeah. So interesting movie.
Yeah. So here's a 1977 film. I kind of have fond memories of it, although it's not really a great film, but the nostalgia factor just gets me every time. Ruby, starring Piper Laurie.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through.
What's it about, Adam? What is it about?
Well, it's Piper Laurie. They were obviously trying to cash in on the success of Carrie. So this is the first film she made after, and it's directed by Curtis Harrington, who made a lot of genre films.
Right.
He made a lot of stuff, and her daughter is she's got a 16-year-old daughter. She runs a drive-in movie theater in the film, which is interesting.
Oh,
and,
that is interesting.
Yes. Stuart, there's actually one of the murders in the film. She finds a corpse stuffed in a Coke machine at the drive-in. It's kind of interesting. So, but Stuart Whitman is her husband was a gangster, and he was killed by his some of the people he was in the business with turned on him, and they killed him. And so his spirit, his daughter, their 16-year-old daughter, is now possessed by the spirit of the dead gangster, her late husband. And,
wow. Okay. Huh.
So
okay.
It has some interesting. There's some. It's not terrible. It's but the time it came out, I remember it being heavily promoted. In newspapers and things when I was about 7 when it came out, and it just has a real high nostalgia factor for me. And I think anybody that's interested in horror films of the late '70s should definitely give it a peek. So Ruby.
Curtis Harrington was also kind of. I never really thought any of his movies were completely successful, but that Dennis Hopper movie, Night Tide, I liked, and he also did What's the Matter with Helen, which is kind of a 30s throwback, kind of in the vein of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, with Debbie Reynolds and Shelley Winters, made in the early 70s. So he's an interesting director.
Yeah, he made a film in '73 I'm kind of a fan of called The Killing Kind with Cindy Williams is in that, I think, and that's kind of an interesting
I've never
genre.
seen that one.
That's
like
a good
to watch
one.
That.
It's creepy. It's creepy, but he's well. Anyway, so we'll move on to May the 24th was the next day on the release calendar, and Manhunter was issued by Shout Factory in a brand new transfers, brand new cut. I think Michael Mann was involved in this project. It has a new cut of the film that he supervised. I think that's different from anything that's been put out there before. I'm trying to pull up a list of the extras, but it's got the director's cut. There's a commentary, of course, by Michael Mann. The Manhunter Look, which is a conversation with Dante Spinotti. There's an Inside Manhunter documentary and an interview with William Peterson, an interview with Joan Allen and Tom Noonan, and there's a 42.5-minute documentary on the music of Manhunter. So, and a 40.5-minute interview with Brian Cox. So, anybody who's interested in Manhunter, this looks like to be the ultimate edition of the film. So there you go. And Private Lessons.
Who's coming out with Manhunter? Who's that again?
That's Scream Factory. Shout Factory. I'm sorry, Shout Factory. Yes.
Okay, well.
So Shout Factory, and so Private Lessons Cinema Epic has reissued the Alan Meyerson comedy Private Lessons would star Sylvia Kristel and Howard Hessman.
Wow.
From 1981.
I didn't know that Howard Hessman was in it. I knew Sylvia Kristel. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and another film that's kind of interesting here is French Postcards. That's been issued by Olive Films, rather. That's directed by Willard Huyck, who, of course, went on to do Howard the Duck, but more famously and more successfully, he and his wife, Gloria Katz, wrote the script for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and American Graffiti. So they had bigger successes with those.
Which is actually great, Adam. We just aired an interview with William Huyck and Gloria Katz for the 30th anniversary of Howard the Duck, and they talk about Temple of Doom, and they talk about the one you just mentioned that just came out on Blu-ray. What's the title of it again?
French Postcards. Yeah.
I've got it out in my car. I haven't watched it yet, and I should probably take it out of my car.
It's really a good little movie. It's just about American exchange students going over to France for a short period, and lots of love stories and stuff like that. But it's an early. If I'm not mistaken, it's an early role for Deborah Winger.
I think so. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I know she's in it, and there's a lot of recognizable faces in it, and it's just a good little breezy sort of what I like to call like kind of a Saturday afternoon movie. It's just like, it's not too demanding, and it's got some laughs in it, and
now, Dean,
it's very romantic.
Dean, would you eat tacos while watching the movie, or no?
Yes, I would. I don't know if it's I think tacos would probably improve it.
That's good.
I just hope that people start using the phrase taco movie. If people actually start using the phrase taco movie to describe a movie that is not quite great but can be improved with the eating of tacos, if people can just start using this. Huh?
What can't be improved with tacos?
Well, let's just say this: it's a movie that that you need the tacos for. If you don't have the tacos, you cannot watch the movie. You can't watch the movie without the tacos. That's the deal.
Let's really break down this taco movie concept. Let's take a look.
I really want people to start using it. And
I use it all the time.
Taco is a euphemism for vagina, so it could have like a much different meaning.
That goes without saying.
No. We don't mean it like that.
And I've seen lots of those movies.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, people start using the phrase taco movie to describe a movie that you need tacos to get through.
Well, with that thought, how about Bad Influence with James Spader? Is that a taco
movie?
No,
that's a taco movie.
That's definitely a taco movie.
Yeah.
Oh, did that actually play off the Rob Lowe video sex tape scandal? I think it did, didn't it?
It was right around that time. Yeah.
Yeah. It came out like just a couple of months after that, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they wanted to, utilize it in some ways.
Yeah. Well, it's another Shout Factory release for whatever it's worth. Is that?
It's actually better than a taco movie is. It's actually quite good.
It is. I thought it was too. It's been a long time, but yeah, I like it. It's good. There is a director's cut of 54, the 1998 film with Mike Myers. And actually, I'm going to be honest. I did see this. I did watch it, and it is much better, much improved. It's still not a great film. It's much improved over the initial butchered version of 54 that was
interesting. So how is it? Do you remember? Because I just remember just having a general malaise about the original 54. Even though I went into it thinking, oh well, Mike Myers should be interesting, but they didn't really. Is his part beefed up a little bit?
Yes, it is. That's the reason
Okay.
I was going to recommend it to people, because his part is front and center in this film. It's not a supporting role. He is like a main character in this version of the film, and so
he's what they ended up cutting out of the movie. Like,
good.
Wow,
Right? Yeah.
Whoa.
And he's really
it's also more daring in terms of its content, I think, because I remember reading they premiered this at Cannes, the director's cut of this, last year or something, and I mean it was cut severely. And this is a problem I have with Harvey Weinstein. As good as he's been to the world of independent film, you think of Harvey Weinstein as massively pro-director, blah blah blah, but he has taken a lot of movies and re-edited them on his own. Yeah, oftentimes without the approval or involvement of the director. I mean, you saw that with something like All the Pretty Horses, what he did to Billy Bob Thornton's film.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
he also did it with
of
Prozac Nation, that Christina Ricci movie.
And in a lot of cases, not for the better. And the gist that I got was that was the case with 54.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I thought it was the director's cut is definitely an improvement. It's still not a great film. It has some problems, but I would recommend people watching it just for that Mike Myers performance, because he's spot on in his so it's worth checking out. So Kino, Buster Keaton, the shorts collection, 1917 to 1923. It's a complete collection of all the Buster Keaton shorts, the silent shorts from that period. So and there's that. And Great Expectations, Shout Factory has issued the 1974. I guess this is a television version with Michael York, Sarah Miles, and James Mason.
Yeah, definitely TV.
Yeah. So there's that. And another Kino release would be The Chase, with and not the one with Marlon Brando. This is the Robert Cummings, Peter Lorre, 1950, directed
not the
by
one
Arthur
with Charlie
Ripley.
Sheen.
1946. No, not that one either. No, but it's a 1946 version. But Best Buy has an exclusive on several Universal titles that might be worth mentioning. I'm sure these will be issued for regular retailers at some point, but for the moment, you can only get them at Best Buy, and that's The Burbs is one of them. The Dream Team is another one, and The Great Outdoors, and The Money Pit. So for anybody who's clamoring for those Universal titles from the 80s and I guess early 90s, well, mostly 80s, I guess, those are.
Yeah.
There you go. And
The Burbs is beloved, man.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
People do love that movie. Yeah. Out of all of those, I think that's the most loved one.
They do, yes. So there's a couple of things, and Olive Films has chosen to issue Zapped.
Yes.
This is the one with Scott Baio, Willie Ames.
Yes.
Olive Films puts out some good stuff. They are issuing the 1979 film Rich Kids, directed by Robert M. Young with Trini Alvarado.
Movie. Yeah, good movie. And isn't that like it's executive produced by Robert Altman, so it kind of has his stamp of approval on it. But that's an excellent movie.
Yeah, Altman was executive producer, and it's also got John Lithgow, Olympia Dukakis, and David Selby and Paul Dooley.
Yeah.
And, Terry Kaiser from Weekend at Bernie's. There's one of his roles where he
plays
gets
one
to
of the
play
parents.
Yeah, plays something besides the corpse. So there you go. So The Whoopee Boys is another Olive Films release with Michael O'Keefe, Paul Rodriguez, and Denholm Elliott from 1986. What a cast!
Now, what was that? Now, was that was that based on something or that wasn't like? So the Whoopee Boys, those are not those guys that used to like make prank phone calls and record them.
You're thinking of the Jerky Boys, I think.
The Jerky Boys, sorry.
Yeah, the Jerky Boys, yeah. Totally different.
Yeah, this is about New York street peddling, I think, is what this film is about. But, so that's another, that's 1986 is when that was issued. And we also have The Sum of Us, which is another all the films released from 1994 with Jack Thompson and early Russell Crowe, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And The People That Time Forgot is being issued by Scorpion Releasing from 1977.
Sweet.
So,
with Doug McClure.
That's right.
Sir, Douglas McClure in another lifetime. No, those movies were great. Those movies were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm surprised those haven't been. That someone's not trying to remake those.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they're also Criterion is issuing, this is interesting because this has already been put out on Blu-ray from Warner Brothers, and they did a pretty good job on it. But Criterion has decided to issue their own version of The Player. Speaking of Altman,
right?
So,
wow, that's right.
And,
well, didn't they release that as a Laserdisc years ago?
They did, yes.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Huh.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised that they would put that out when it was done with a pretty well, I think, by Warner's proper.
You know what I wish that they would? Oh God, I just had it in my mind. Oh, one of the things that I wish they would. This actually wasn't Criterion. It was. Remember when Pioneer used to come out with their own Laserdiscs?
Special editions, yeah.
Yeah, and one of them was Glengarry Glen Ross. And it had a commentary in there from not only James Foley, it had a separate commentary track with Jack Lemmon. And so it was like a 2-hour acting masterclass with Jack Lemmon.
Wow.
And I remember him drinking a milkshake as he was doing the commentary. He'd never done them before. And that's gone now. It's not in any other pressing of Glengarry. It's only on that Laserdisc. They need to find a way to preserve that even if you put the commentary track on YouTube. I think there's only 5 minutes of it on YouTube. But it's Jack Lemmon, for God's sakes. I mean, that needs to be out there.
Exactly. Wow, I never bought that one. I was a big Laserdisc guy. I had tons of them, but that's one I never bought, so I missed that. But, wow, I'd love to hear that. That's awesome. So, well, The Private Affairs of Belle Ami, starring George Sanders and Angela Lansbury, and directed by Albert Lewin from 1947. That's another Olive release. And so then we move on to this coming Tuesday, that was this coming Tuesday, actually the Tuesday after this one, which will be May 31st. And just a few things here worth mentioning. One is Venom from 1982. Anybody remember this one?
Yes, I do. Well, this is the snake one, right?
Yeah,
is it
good
Klaus
cast.
Kinski?
Klaus
Kinski.
Nicole Williamson.
Yeah. Good. Oliver Reed is in that. It's Susan George.
Oh my God! I bet these guys were like drinking it up big time.
Well, Oliver Reed would just show up. I mean, he could stop at 5 in the morning and show up. So I mean, he was there.
Oh man!
Yeah.
But Nicole Williamson was pretty famous for drinking and causing trouble too.
Of course.
And of course, we know Klaus Kinski was tearing it up. So.
Oh
wow.
yeah. It's not a bad film actually. It also has Sterling Hayden in it. That's worth mentioning. Sterling Hayden and did I mention Nicole Williamson? I think I did.
Yes.
Sarah Miles.
Yes.
And Michael Gough.
Sarah.
So
okay.
It's basically a black mamba snake loose in a house, and the Klaus Kinski is the
Klaus Kinski plays the snake.
Right. Probably could have, but anyway. So, but I would recommend that one. It's fun, and the Wim Wenders Road Trilogy is a box set from Criterion. And it includes, it has 3 discs, and it has Alice in the Cities, Wrong Move, and Kings of the Road. So there you go, and lots of supplements, documentaries, and such. And so if you're a completist of his work, that's one to think about right there. And then we have Bloodbath from 1966, directed by Jack Hill, who later, of course, went on to do Coffee and Foxy Brown and the Swinging Cheerleaders and the
But this is from his Spider Baby era.
It is, yeah. This is a Roger Corman co-production, I believe. So yeah, but Bloodbath is that's being issued by Arrow Video. So, and then we have a Blu-ray issue of Boris Karloff's The Terror. Speaking of Roger Corman, and so that's been restored.
Wasn't The Terror the one that? Like Corman did two movies with Jack Nicholson that they shot in like Romania or something.
Yeah. Isn't that Terror Jack Nicholson, isn't that?
Yes, and he had The Terror was the second movie. He had they had some money left over from the first shoot. I can't remember what that movie was, and they said, "Well, while you're up there and you have extra money, shoot this other movie, The Terror." And that's how that movie came about.
It's not a good movie either. It's a real dull movie.
Yeah.
Well, those were the conditions under which it was made. I mean, it was like an afterthought. Well, if you have money left over, shoot this other one.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not sure. Is The Terror the one they use footage from in the movie Targets? Bogdanovich's Targets.
I think it is.
It's the entire like last 5 minutes of The Terror is included as the first 5 minutes of Targets.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I knew it was either that or Dementia 13, but no, he's not in Dementia 13. So okay, it is The Terror. Yeah. So okay, so City of Women from 1980. That's a Fellini movie for any Fellini fans out there. And Cohen Media Group is issuing that one.
That's one of his last movies.
It is. Yeah, it's one of the final ones there. Mm-hmm. And we always have to throw in a Vinegar Syndrome issue. So. So their 1975 film Psychic Killer, starring Paul Burke and Jim Hutton and Julie Adams, that's a Vinegar Syndrome release. So I think that about wraps it up for the month of May, guys.
Wow, what a month!
So far as I can tell.
We've been on such a cinematic adventure.
Yes.
As always with you, Adam.